This house sat on the market for 23 days in Buffalo in a seller's market. It wasn't overpriced. It wasn't in a bad neighborhood. The sellers were motivated, flexible, and ready to move. But they made one decision before they ever listed, one thing that seemed completely harmless at the time, and it cost them $30,000 by the time we reached the closing table. I'm going to show you exactly what that decision was, why it destroys your negotiating position, and how to make sure it never happens to you. Before I tell you the mistake, you need to understand something specific about this market, because it's what makes this error so much more expensive here than in other cities. Buffalo is the #1 ranked housing market in the country right now, according to both Zillow and Realtor.com. We have roughly 1 month of housing supply. Homes that are priced and presented correctly are selling in under 2 weeks, some in under 10 days, and they're closing at nearly 110% of asking price. That's an extraordinary environment for sellers. But here's what that also means. Buyers in this market are watching everything. They've been tracking listings for months. They know what's moved, they know what hasn't, and why. When a home hits the MLS in Buffalo, buyers and their agents form an opinion within hours, and that opinion is almost impossible to reverse, which is exactly why this mistake is so damaging, because it poisons your first impression before you even shown a single buyer through the front door. Here it is. The #1 mistake Buffalo sellers make before listing is going live before they're ready. Now I know what you might be thinking. That sounds obvious. Stay with me, because it almost never looks the way you'd expect. It's not sellers listing a home that's falling apart. It's sellers going live before the market perception of that home is perfect. And in a market that's competitive, perception is pricing. Here's how it plays out. A seller has a timeline. They want to be out by summer, or they need the proceeds for something specific. They call an agent, they do a quick walkthrough, they go live 2 weeks later. The home looks fine, clean enough. There were a couple of things they meant to fix, but they didn't quite get to it. Day 1, a dozen showings, interest, no offers. Day 4, traffic drops. Buyers start assuming something's wrong with it. Day 10, the first price reduction hits the MLS, and the moment that price reduction goes live, you've just handed every buyer in Buffalo leverage you didn't have to give them. That's what happened with my seller. The home was priced correctly, but because it went live without being fully optimized, 2 minor repairs kept coming up in showings and the staging felt cluttered. The market read it as overpriced, even though it wasn't. We had to reduce to reset the conversation, and by the time we negotiated from the new position, she walked away $30,000 lighter than she should have been. $30,000 for 2 repairs and better staging. So why does this keep happening? In my experience, it comes down to 3 things. First, they underestimate the power of day 1. The first 72 hours your home is on the market are the most valuable hours you will have in the entire sale. That's when buyer excitement is highest, agent activity is highest, and you're most likely to generate competing offers. National data backs this up. Homes that sell in the first 4 weeks receive close to full asking price. By weeks 5 through 8, that number drops. By weeks 9 through 16, it drops again. Every week you sit, you lose negotiating ground. In Buffalo specifically, where well-prepared homes are going pending in 13 days or less, wasting that first wave of attention is not a recoverable mistake. Second, they assume buyers will look past small things. They won't. Buyers today are nervous. Mortgage rates are still sitting in the mid to upper 6% range, which means they're scrutinizing every detail of every home they consider. A scuffed wall, a dripping faucet, outdated light fixtures. None of these are deal breakers on their own, but they add up, and they give buyers permission to negotiate down. Third, they don't have a pre-listing strategy. Most sellers think the process starts when they sign a listing agreement. It doesn't. The strategic process, the one that actually protects your equity, starts 60 to 90 days before you ever go live. That's when the real decisions get made. Here's the good news. This is completely preventable, and it doesn't require spending a fortune. Step 1, have a pre-listing strategy session with your agent before you sign anything. There's a difference between a listing appointment and a strategy session. A listing appointment is about paperwork. A strategy session is about walking every room and asking, what does a buyer see here? What are they going to flag? What can we fix now for a few $100s that prevents a $5,000 negotiation later? Step 2, fix the right things, not everything. I'm not going to tell you to gut your kitchen. I'm talking about high visibility, low cost items. fresh paint in the main living areas, updated light fixtures, cleaned grout, doors that stick, landscaping that's been neglected through winter. These are the things that tell a buyer this home has been cared for. And that feeling is worth more on the negotiating table than almost any major renovation. Step 3, time your launch strategically. In Buffalo, February through July is historically when buyer demand is highest and days on market are lowest. But within that window, specific weeks matter. Holidays, local events, even the day of the week you go live. Your agent should be thinking about all of it. If they're not, ask. Step 4, give yourself enough runway. 60 days minimum before your target list date. If you're thinking about selling this summer, that conversation starts now. And look, in this market, getting this right matters more than ever. Right now in Buffalo, roughly 25% of listings are experiencing price reductions. That means 1 in 4 sellers is learning this lesson the hard way after they've already lost leverage. The homes that aren't in that group, the ones that go over asking, generating multiple offers, closing fast, are not necessarily the biggest or the most updated homes. They're the ones that were launched correctly. Strategic pricing, flawless presentation, the right timing. That outcome doesn't happen by accident. It's built in the 60 days before anyone sees a listing. If you're thinking about selling your home in Buffalo, whether that's in 2 months or 6, here's what I want you to do. Let's do a pre-listing strategy session. No cost, no obligation. We walk your home together. I tell you exactly what I'd address and what I wouldn't, and you leave with a real action plan, whether you work with me or not. The link to book that session is in the description, or drop the word ready in the comments and I'll reach out to you directly. And if this video helped you, share it with someone who's thinking about selling. This information could be the difference between a strong sale and a painful one. Next week, I'm answering one of the most common questions I get from Buffalo sellers. And the answer comes down to one number that most people have never even thought to look up. It will completely change how you think about your selling timeline. Hit subscribe so you don't miss it, and I'll see you in the next one.